On this Father's Day holiday, as I seek out the best model for fatherhood, I turn once again to my favorite American play. For those of you who are not familiar with Our Town, the greatest American play ever written, the play is about life. It is about growing up in a town with regular people, and it's about falling in love, getting married, and then facing the end of life. Now, one of the reasons that I adore this play is because Thornton Wilder wrote about relationships within families and relationships within the community. And the relationships detailed by Thornton Wilder are oh so very normal and believable, and they are as dysfunctional as we are today, with a sprinkling of Norman Rockwell hope for the perfect. A few words exchanged between George Gibbs and Emily Webb are particularly fitting for today. Emily is having a very honest and direct conversation with her new boyfriend, George. And Emily is disappointed in the way that George has been treating her. And so she tells him, "I always expect a man to be perfect, and I think he should be." And George replies, "Well, I don't think it's possible to be perfect, Emily." And Emily then responds, "Well, my father is, and as far as I can see, your father is. There's no reason on earth why you shouldn't be too." Now, I don't know, it could just be me, but I think that kind of sets the bar pretty high for fathers. Our Town was written in the early 1900s, and so I guess it could be said that fathers were expected to be perfect then. Fathers are certainly no longer believed or expected to be perfect. In fact, men kind of have it tough these days. There's a somewhat suspicious, hostile attitude in our culture about being a man, and fathers are certainly not exempt from that scrutiny. I mean, just take a moment to consider the negative stereotypes of men today. Men are often viewed in the media as bumbling or as buffoons. Catching dad doing something wrong or silly often becomes the family joke. Now, we have discussions about dad bods and dad jokes. Okay, so I have to take a couple minutes to tell a few dad jokes. What do you call a Frenchman wearing sandals? Philippe Philippe. A father said to his wife, "Today my son asked, 'Can I have a bookmark?' 11 years old and he doesn't know my name is Brian." And finally, a father tells his children, "I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know." If dad is not a buffoon, then he needs to be rich or super intelligent or a super handyman. He needs to be able to fix toys and cars, able to pick up the dead critters and plunge the toilet while supervising your math homework. In 2014, Mitch Albom, author of Tuesdays with Morrie, wrote an article entitled, "When Did Fathers Become Expendable?" And in the article, Albom addressed the real issue of our changing culture. Because of the way that the family structure in America has shifted, Albom feels like fatherhood is shrinking in its significance. Because we have 1/3 of our nation's children being raised without their biological father's presence. 1/3. Our culture has learned to survive without dads. Now, I don't want to get much further into this topic, and I certainly don't want to throw men under the bus. But I do want to call this what it is. We have a bit of an identity crisis regarding men these days. Now, there are men who have shirked their fathering responsibilities. And in the arena of misbehaviors and impropriety, by a few. suspicion, and name-calling have been cast on many. You and I both know that there are still a lot of wonderful men out there. Many of you, men present and women here, have functioned as an active and appropriate father for your children's lives. And I'm sorry that you feel attacked. I'm sorry that you feel unnecessary at times. Today's climate has many roles and identities under discussion and observation. Irma Bombeck wrote light comedy that was read by lots of moms and dads when I was growing up. Irma just had a way of finding the comical in the everyday, and her everyday was always very family-based and family-centered. As well as being funny, Irma was often able to shoot straight from the heart. Now here is what Irma Bombeck wrote about the role of the father. My father died when I was 9 years old, so I wasn't really sure what a father was supposed to do. As far as I could observe, fathers brought the car around when it was raining so everyone else could stay dry. They always took all the family pictures, which is why they were never in them. They carved turkeys on Thanksgiving, kept the car gassed up, mowed the lawn, weren't afraid to go in the basement, and they tightened the clothesline to keep it from sagging. After my husband and I had children, Irma writes, I learned a lot more about what a father contributes to a child's life. My husband didn't feed the kids very often or change very many diapers. He didn't wipe noses or throw the ball very often. But this is what I watched him do. He threw them higher than his head until they were weak from laughter. He cast the deciding vote on the puppy debate. He listened more than he talked. He let them make mistakes. He allowed them to fall from their first two-wheeler without having a heart attack. He read a newspaper while they were learning to parallel park. He's a man who was constantly being observed by his children. They learn from him how to handle adversity, anger, disappointment, and success. And he won't laugh at their dreams, no matter how impossible they might seem. But mostly, a good father involves himself in his kids' lives. A few weeks ago, we celebrated Mother's Day, and that's a tough day for many of us, for a variety of reasons. The same with today. On these two holidays, our heads swim with love and respect, grief and regret, gratitude and disappointment. Relationships with our fathers are sometimes quite difficult. They aren't perfect, Emily Webb, no matter what you thought. But in our town, George Gibbs' parents, Dr. and Mrs. Gibbs, knew about the strained relationships between parents and children. On the day of George and Emily's wedding, George Gibbs' parents have the following conversation over breakfast. Dr. Gibbs is reflecting on the mystery of his son getting married, and he says to his wife, I tell you, Julia, there's nothing so terrifying in the world as a son. The relation of father and son is the darndest, awkwardest. And at that moment, his wife cuts him off with these words, well, mother and daughter's no picnic, let me tell you. And there we have it from the experts. We didn't imagine the challenges in those relationships. They are universal and they are real. Many of us have heard this statement by Mark Twain. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years. For decades, for centuries, fathers around the world have been experiencing that sudden surge in intelligence during that 7-year period of time. Superman or bumbling buffoon, those are just stereotypes. Dads are just real people trying to do the right thing. In many cases, dads just get through the day the best they can while trying to provide for the people they share their house with. Words may not come as easily to Dad as he wished, and emotions might get pushed away to be dealt with another time. Dads do their best to protect their kids and to keep the peace. If your dad didn't do that for you, I'm sorry. I happen to believe that if he didn't, he wanted to. He wanted to desperately. He just didn't know how. Like mothers, fathers are far from perfect. But if they could, if they had a magic wand, fathers, just like mothers, would love us as purely and perfectly as the ideal love that we find in this familiar passage in the Bible. Betty used these words on Mother's Day, and I'm using these words on Father's Day. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. Love always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. That's the kind of love our parents hope they showed us. That's the kind of love we parents hope we are giving to our children. That's the kind of love that God has for every one of us. So happy Father's Day, all of you who have taken on this role, all of you who are stepfathers and fathers-in-laws and adoptive fathers and biological fathers and foster fathers and spiritual fathers and mentors, along with the women and men who have been a father figure for a child anywhere. Your nurturing has been invaluable. Thank you for being there for us, even when we didn't realize it. Thank you for loving us. Amen. Poet Anne Sexton wrote the following words: "It doesn't matter who my father was. It matters who I remember he was." As you step away from this service today, focus on the positive. Find the good about your dad. Take it with you as you go. I choose to remember my father as the one who was always there for me, the one who had a constant, unwavering heart, the one who always loved me. Have a great Sunday, and go in peace. Amen.